Liam said, I'm Despine, I'm from Fight Racism, Fight Imperialism. We've been supporting this campaign since it started, essentially. And you know, as people have said, like the John Carroll Leisure Centre is a vital community resource here in Redford. Vital not just because it helps fulfil the demand of people for access to healthy living and exercise facilities, and that the Labour-run Nottingham City Council voted to close it as part of their £15.6 million budget cut should be seen as nothing less than a barefaced attack on the working class in Nottingham. It is an attack on women and on racialised minorities. But, you know, of course, this is to be expected from the history of Labour councils. In Nottingham alone, over the last decade, no Labour councillor has voted against budget cuts which have totalled over £120 million in 10 years. And this is a state of affairs which is repeated in councils up and down the country. Whether in government or opposition, the Labour Party has happily been the political driver and executioner of austerity, of immigration controls and of racist policing. The fight to save the John Carroll Leisure Centre is not just a fight against this singular instance of state racism and sexism, but a wider fight against austerity and against all public service cuts. We need to understand that in racist, capitalist, imperialist Britain, there will be people who claim to support a fight against austerity, but when push comes to shove, they can't even be bothered to turn up for budget day. And apparently not even for this protest to save the John Carroll Leisure Centre either. These people, in order to save their role as councillor, to maintain their party membership, to protect their privileged lifestyles, will say that they oppose council cuts, but are more than happy to let them go through without lifting a finger to stop it. To quote a member of the Asian youth movement of the 1980s, in the fight against austerity, we ought to beware of false friends. If we compare the response to the crisis in imperialist Britain to that of socialist Cuba, we can see that the issue facing us isn't one of a scarcity of resources, but a lack of political control for the working class. In Britain, at the first signs of trouble, GP surgeries are closed, leisure centres are sold off, and class sizes increased. Whereas in Cuba, during the special period, which was some of the most economically trying times, spending on healthcare, education and early years childcare was not only protected, but was increased as a share of GDP. Cuba has world-leading healthcare and education outcomes, and these resources are shared with people across the underdeveloped world. And this isn't because Cubans are some special kind of people, but because the working class of Cuba, because Cuban women and Afro-Cubans are actually in control of the political and economic decisions which are made. The only reason why we here in Britain have to fight against austerity is because this is a capitalist country, a country where economic and political decisions are made in order to maximise profit for the ruling class. In order to save John Carroll, to protect access to public services, healthcare and quality education for all, we need to fight for socialism.